In the book of Genesis, humanity's creation is described in two fascinating steps. We are made from dust of the ground and brought to life by the breath of God. This isn't just poetic language, it's an essential piece of a much bigger picture. Think about that for a second. Humans created from dust, something so ordinary and lifeless, and yet it's this very dust that, with a divine spark, turns into a living soul. In other words, human beings are made from both the most basic and the most divine ingredients. There's an intentionality to that, and when we look closer, there are layers upon layers here, hinting that we are more than mere mortals. We are designed to be a paradox, both earthly and transcendent. The symbolism here has been widely debated for centuries, and what stands out is the notion of cyclical existence. Genesis tells us that we come from dust and will return to dust, suggesting that humanity exists in a loop, an endless cycle of life and death. This isn't just a poetic idea, it's a profound insight into our existence. To some early theologians, and even ancient philosophers, this suggested a sense of limitation, almost as if humans were programmed to exist within certain boundaries, unable to break free from this cycle. For some, this might sound grim, our fate sealed in the cycle of birth and death, but it raises a serious question about the purpose of our existence. Is humanity meant to transcend this cycle, or is it our fate to exist within it forever? Let's add another layer. The ancient Near East had many creation myths, and Genesis shares some similarities with these. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, for instance, humans are also made from the earth, crafted by gods who sought to keep them in check. These stories aren't just folklore, they're reflections of how ancient civilizations saw humanity's role in the cosmos. They hint that humanity's existence wasn't always about achieving divine greatness, but about accepting a role as part of a larger, divine plan, a plan that limits our freedom and our destiny. So why is this significant? Because it confronts the belief, held by many for centuries, that humans were created to rule over the earth in an absolute sense. This idea of dominion is popular in religious teachings, but the original Hebrew text in Genesis doesn't suggest control in a dominating way. It's more about stewardship, responsibility, even subordination. Humans were to keep and work the Garden of Eden, not to bend it to their will. This paints an entirely different picture of humanity's role. We are not rulers in the sense of absolute power. We are caretakers, bound to the earth, our existence always tied to the ground from which we came. Ancient Hebrew texts describe the concept of nephesh, a word often translated as soul, but it's much more complex than that. It implies a life force, the essence of being alive, which includes not only humans but animals. Genesis doesn't distinguish humans as the only beings with nephesh. This directly challenges the assumption that humans are uniquely special or fundamentally different from all other life. We're all part of the same created order, all part of the cycle. In a way, this ancient text subtly suggests that humanity's perception of being set apart, unique in creation, might be somewhat inflated. Let's take all of this in. Humanity, according to the oldest parts of the Bible, is not a creature of ultimate freedom, nor are we meant to be. We're dust, we're bound to this earth, and our very essence, the nephesh, is shared with other living creatures. Far from being the ultimate rulers, we're participants, deeply woven into the fabric of life and death. The 3,000-year-old Bible, the book that's been the cornerstone of faith for billions, holds a message not about human greatness, but about human connection, humility, and a shared existence with every living thing. Let's delve deeper into Genesis, where hidden within its verses is a fascinating symbolism often overlooked, the dual creation of humanity. According to the text, humanity is crafted in the image of God, but also from dust. This juxtaposition, divine image and earthly matter, is a deliberate contrast, carrying profound implications. It suggests we're not only physical beings but also carry something transcendent within us. We're a bridge between the earthly and the divine. In this setup, there's a fundamental message about the human struggle. Humans are both grounded and elevated, existing in tension between material limitations and spiritual potential. It's a concept that runs parallel to ancient philosophies across cultures. In many Eastern traditions, for example, the physical body is seen as a temporary vessel, while the soul or spirit embodies something infinite. This ancient idea in Genesis aligns remarkably with these philosophies. Humans are at once bound to the earth, but also equipped with a spark of the divine. This duality has fueled debates for centuries. Some scholars argue that being made in the image of God refers not to a physical likeness, but to qualities like morality, creativity, and intellect, faculties that allow humans to act as stewards of the earth. So while we may be dust, we're also endowed with the capacity to make choices, to innovate, and to shape our surroundings. Here's where Genesis gets provocative. By framing humanity as both earthly and divine, it implies a responsibility, an inherent duty. We're not just here to survive, we're here to create, to preserve, and perhaps even to uplift. Then there's the symbolism of the Garden of Eden, a paradise in which humans are placed to work and keep it. Eden wasn't merely a paradise to enjoy passively. From the beginning, humanity's role was active. Humans were given purpose to nurture, to protect, and to ensure the garden's sustainability. This isn't dominion as domination, it's dominion as stewardship. And in ancient Hebrew, the word foreskip even has connotations of protection. Far from being passive inhabitants, humans were set as guardians of the natural world, assigned to protect and serve it. Genesis doesn't position humans as passive recipients of a divine gift, but as active participants with a serious responsibility. This role of stewardship isn't just a privilege, it's a duty. It suggests a view of humanity that is holistic and interconnected, an acknowledgement that every action taken by humanity affects the balance of the world around us. Now, we're diving into a lesser-known realm of biblical texts, the Apocrypha and other ancient writings like the Book of Enoch and the Gospel of Judas. These texts didn't make it into the Bible we know today, but they hold perspectives so radical that they challenge our understanding of humanity's place in the universe. These ancient writings reveal ideas that completely shift the narrative, views on life, existence, and the very nature of divinity itself. Take the Book of Enoch. This text describes a whole world beyond our own, a celestial realm inhabited by watchers, powerful beings who descend to Earth and interact with humans. But it's not just about otherworldly visitors. These watchers are said to have shared forbidden knowledge with humanity, knowledge of the stars, of the earth, of creation itself. In Enoch's vision, humanity is not simply passive or ignorant. Humanity is being taught, shaped, and even transformed by celestial beings. This paints a provocative picture. Humans weren't meant to exist in isolation from divine knowledge. According to Enoch, we were meant to have access to profound secrets, knowledge that could empower, enlighten, and potentially free us. Then there's the Gospel of Judas, an absolutely explosive text. Unlike the conventional narrative where Judas is a traitor, here he's portrayed as the closest disciple, the one chosen by Jesus to reveal deeper truths. Jesus tells Judas that this world is not as it appears, that there is a higher hidden reality beyond earthly existence. Judas' role, according to this gospel, isn't betrayal, it's sacrifice, guided by a cosmic plan that goes beyond earthly understanding. This flips the traditional story upside down. It suggests that betrayal, suffering, and sacrifice might serve a divine purpose unknown to most. And it hints that the true reality, the true purpose, is often hidden behind layers of illusion, a powerful insight for those who question the visible world. The implications of these texts are mind-boggling. They suggest that humanity's quest for knowledge and understanding was never a deviation from divine will. It was, in fact, the very path intended. These forbidden teachings don't paint humans as inherently sinful or flawed. Instead, they portray us as beings of potential, capable of reaching beyond, of transcending, of accessing realms of knowledge typically reserved for the divine. These lost texts give us a provocative, radically different view of humanity. We aren't just passive creations, we are meant to seek, to understand, to question. In the ancient apocryphal stories, the divine isn't something out of reach. It's something we are meant to pursue, to uncover, even if the path is complex and filled with trials. Let's get into one of the most controversial aspects of the Bible, the complex relationship between God and Satan, especially as depicted in the book of Job. This is a part of the Bible that doesn't get enough attention, probably because it raises uncomfortable questions about the nature of God, the role of Satan, and ultimately, the nature of good and evil. What we see in Job is a God who not only permits Satan to test a loyal follower, but seemingly works alongside him to do it. This isn't your typical good versus evil scenario. In the book of Job, Satan isn't portrayed as a rogue agent acting in defiance of God. He's shown as a member of God's divine council, referred to as the accuser or the adversary. Satan doesn't take action on his own. Instead, he appears before God with other heavenly beings, and it's God who initiates the conversation, pointing out Job's loyalty and righteousness. God grants Satan permission to test Job, to take away everything Job has, to ruin him, even to inflict him with physical suffering. This isn't a story where Satan acts independently. It's a coordinated act that raises massive implications. Why would a just God allow such a thing? This narrative challenges traditional views on good and evil. In the book of Job, we see a dynamic where God and Satan work in a strange form of partnership. It suggests that the adversary isn't a total enemy, but rather an agent allowed to test, challenge, and even strengthen humanity. Satan's role here is not to bring chaos without purpose, but to act as a tool to reveal the depth of human faith and resilience. This is a challenging idea, that suffering, hardship, and struggle might actually be allowed, even orchestrated, by divine forces for purposes beyond human understanding. This perspective aligns with certain ancient interpretations and mystical philosophies that see good and evil as intertwined forces, each necessary for the development of the soul and the evolution of consciousness. In some Gnostic traditions, for instance, the physical world, filled with suffering and hardship, isn't seen as a mistake or a punishment, but as a necessary part of spiritual growth. The book of Job appears to hint at something similar, that trials and challenges aren't just unfortunate accidents, but part of a larger cosmic design. When God grants Satan the freedom to test Job, the story implies that humanity's suffering has purpose, a purpose hidden within the design of creation itself. This concept forces us to reconsider what we think we know about divinity and malevolence. The idea that the adversary, or Satan, plays a role allowed by God to push humanity to its limits and beyond raises powerful questions about our own lives. Are our struggles purely random, or are they necessary steps in a divine process of growth and understanding? From the earliest chapters of Genesis to texts beyond the traditional canon, there's a powerful idea threaded throughout. The human soul isn't just a static element, it's a living, dynamic force with a purpose, bound by neither time nor space. Ancient Hebrew texts call it nephesh, a term that encompasses far more than just a soul in the Western sense. It refers to the breath of life, the very essence of being alive, and it's not exclusive to humans. In Genesis, this nephesh is shared by all living creatures, suggesting a profound unity between all forms of life. In the ancient worldview, the soul wasn't just an invisible part of us that floated up to heaven upon death. It was a force, a living essence that animated the body and connected us to a vast, interconnected cosmos. For early Jewish and Christian mystics, the soul was the link between the human and the divine, a spark from the divine source that carried the potential for enlightenment, transcendence, and cosmic connection. It didn't just exist in the afterlife, it was active in this world, shaping our perceptions, emotions, and even our moral choices. The nature of the soul is explored further in texts like the Book of Enoch and even certain Gnostic writings, which offer a revolutionary perspective. Here the soul isn't a prisoner of the body, but rather an explorer, navigating the realms of matter and spirit, gathering experiences, knowledge, and insight. The soul's journey is seen as a transformative process, a continuous evolution. This aligns surprisingly well with modern ideas of consciousness as something far more complex and interconnected than science has yet fully explained. Researchers today are uncovering evidence that consciousness might be non-local, that it could exist beyond the brain, hinting at an interconnectedness that ancient texts seem to recognize long ago. But this doesn't just affect the way we think about life after death. The soul, in these ancient teachings, is on a mission. It's here for growth, for learning, and for remembering its connection to something larger. This makes human existence far more than a simple matter of survival. Our challenges, emotions, and experiences are all part of a divine journey toward knowledge and unity. In some mystical traditions, the soul's purpose is to transcend the material world's illusions and return to the divine, a theme we see across various cultures and eras. This brings us to a profound takeaway. If the soul is eternal, interconnected, and on a path of constant growth, then our lives are not isolated events. We're not just individuals cut off from each other. We're part of an intricate web of existence that transcends physical limitations. Ancient texts, long dismissed as myth or superstition, seem to reveal a truth about the human soul that modern science is only beginning to explore. A truth that suggests we are bound to each other and the universe in ways we can barely imagine. When it comes to the idea of free will, the Bible presents something far more complex than simply choose good or choose evil. From the beginning, humans are given choices, but those choices are rarely without influence. In Genesis, Adam and Eve are told they can eat from any tree, except one. They're given the freedom to choose, yet there's a boundary, a limit set by God. This isn't total freedom, it's a freedom with constraints. And these constraints reveal a deeper, often overlooked message about the nature of human choice. Throughout biblical texts, God's influence is everywhere, guiding, testing, sometimes even hardening the hearts of those he wishes to influence, like Pharaoh in the story of Exodus. This suggests a layered approach to free will, where human choices unfold within a divine framework. The Bible repeatedly portrays human decisions as part of a larger plan, one that transcends individual desires. This raises a powerful idea. Free will may not be about having unlimited choices, but about navigating within a divinely designed framework that guides humanity toward a specific purpose. Consider the role of prophets in the Bible. They're chosen, often reluctant, and their lives are essentially directed by divine command. Jonah, for instance, tries to flee from God's will, but is ultimately pulled back, directed to follow a path he did not choose. Here the notion of free will isn't straightforward. It's shaped, influenced, even overridden to fulfill a greater purpose. In these stories, it's almost as if freedom isn't about what you want. It's about whether you align with a purpose beyond yourself. In ancient Hebrew, the word for sin, choda, means to miss the mark. This isn't about failing morally, it's about straying from a purpose, failing to fulfill one's intended role in the cosmic order. This changes everything. If sin isn't about punishment but about missing the target, then free will might be less about unrestricted choice and more about aligning with our true path, staying within the boundaries set by divine wisdom. This perspective reshapes our understanding of freedom. Instead of seeing humanity as beings with absolute choice, the Bible presents us as beings with a guided choice, directed, influenced, and at times restrained to fulfill a purpose that's far larger than individual will. This doesn't imply that humans are puppets, but rather that they're given a role to play within an interconnected design. We choose, yes, but we choose within a context, a tapestry of existence that holds meaning beyond our own lives. In our final dive into the secrets of ancient scripture, let's confront what may be the most groundbreaking idea, humanity's true role, not as mere subjects under divine rule, but as active participants in a cosmic narrative. Hidden in the ancient texts, especially those often left out of traditional teachings, is a subtle yet profound message about human potential. These texts, some 3,000 years old, offer clues that our existence holds a far deeper meaning than blind obedience or passive worship. Instead, they suggest that humanity has the power to transcend, to question, and ultimately to co-create with the divine. Starting from Genesis, humanity is given an active role, not just in stewardship, but in the act of naming, categorizing, and shaping the world. The act of Adam naming the animals is no trivial task. It's an act of power, of establishing identity and relationship. In the ancient world, names held significance beyond mere labels. Naming something meant defining its essence, its place in the world. Adam's role here is one of co-creator, a partner in creation itself. This isn't a passive role, it's a responsibility that gives humanity authority and purpose beyond mere existence. Beyond Genesis, other texts reinforce this concept of humanity as an active force. In the apocryphal texts and Gnostic writings, humanity is often portrayed not as helpless in the face of divine power, but as bearers of hidden knowledge, seekers of truth, and guardians of wisdom. The Gnostic Gospel of Thomas, for example, teaches that the kingdom of God is within you. This isn't about an external paradise to wait for, but a powerful state of being, a potential within every human. It hints that the divine is something accessible, something that humanity can uncover within themselves, if they are willing to seek it out. The Book of Enoch, another ancient text that delves deep into the celestial realm, presents humanity as beings capable of learning from the divine. Enoch himself becomes a bridge between the human and the heavenly, gaining knowledge of the cosmos and the secrets of creation. His journey signifies more than just a divine favor. It shows a model for human potential, a pathway for humanity to understand and connect with the universe. This is no simple doctrine of obedience, but a call for active engagement, for humanity to strive for greater understanding. In a broader sense, these texts suggest that humanity is not a passive creation, beholden to forces beyond their understanding. Instead, we are participants in the fabric of creation, with the power to shape, to influence, and to make choices that resonate far beyond our own lives. The ancient scriptures, in their subtleties and hidden meanings, imply that humanity has a unique role to question, to seek, and ultimately to realize the divine potential within. This is a view that breaks traditional boundaries, one that encourages a dynamic interaction between humanity and the divine. This brings us to a compelling realization. If the texts are taken not just as a set of rules, but as a map to understanding our own nature, then humanity's role is one of active exploration, of pushing boundaries, and of striving toward an understanding that goes beyond doctrine. These ancient scriptures, particularly when combined with the apocryphal and Gnostic texts, present a vision of humanity as beings capable of transformation, capable of reaching into the divine itself. Our purpose is not merely to exist, but to evolve, to search for meaning, to confront the unknown, and to contribute to the unfolding mystery of creation. And this isn't just an ancient idea. Modern science, philosophy, and spirituality have all begun exploring concepts that mirror what these ancient texts hinted at thousands of years ago. Quantum physics, for instance, has shown us that the universe is interconnected in ways we're only beginning to understand, that our actions and our consciousness may influence the reality around us. Neuroscience is delving into the mysteries of consciousness, suggesting that human potential may be far greater than we once believed. These discoveries don't contradict the ancient texts. In many ways, they validate the idea that humanity is deeply intertwined with the universe, that our existence has meaning, and that our choices matter on a cosmic scale. So what do these ancient scriptures ultimately reveal about humanity's place in the cosmos? They show us that we are not just living in a world created for us, but in a world we are meant to engage with, a reality we are meant to explore. The texts invite us to look beyond the obvious, to seek knowledge, to question, and to grow. We are not just products of divine creation, we are participants in it, with the potential to transcend, to co-create, and to discover the mysteries of existence. Thank you to each of you who has stayed with us through this exploration. Your curiosity, your willingness to question, and your drive to understand are what make discussions like this possible. Thank you for watching, for seeking, and for being a part of this journey.